Welcome to today's program. I'm Tony Noakes, and with me today is Dr. Wendy Walsh. Our topic on today's program will be of special interest to any of our viewers who have been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease after exposure to Paraquat, a highly toxic commercial herbicide used by farmers and agricultural workers to control weeds. Dr. Walsh, can you tell us more about Paraquat?
Sure, Tony. Well, Paraquat, as you've said, is a highly toxic herbicide or plant-killing chemical, and it's been on the market since the early 1960s. Now, you should know it has widespread commercial use for the protection of crops by controlling weeds. Studies indicate its toxicity can cause not only Parkinson's disease, but brain damage, permanent lung damage, kidney failure, heart failure, and other severe side effects.
What rights do viewers who have been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and suspect they may have had exposure to Paraquat have?
Well, Tony, anyone who has suffered injury or illness due to the negligent actions of others has a right to recover damages for the impact it's had on them and their families.
Okay, what type of financial compensation could be awarded in these cases?
Well, typical awards of compensation in these kind of cases include past and future medical bills, past and future lost wages, compensation for permanent disability, pain and suffering and emotional distress. Now, because Parkinson's disease has no cure, the awards in these cases have the potential to be quite substantial.
Have lawsuits been filed in Paraquat cases?
Yes, there have been, although to date none have been settled. One of the first lawsuits, though, was filed in 2017 against the manufacturers of Paraquat by 3 farmers who were suffering with Parkinson's disease, one of whom died 23 days after filing the lawsuit. Additional suits were filed in 2019 and 2020, blaming their exposure to Paraquat for their Parkinson's disease.
Dr. Walsh, it seems obvious that any of our viewers who have been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease after exposure to Paraquat need the help of a law firm that has experience handling this type of case. What are the key things to look for when choosing a law firm for a Parkinson's disease Paraquat case?
Tony, the most important elements that are required for this type of representation start with the fact that the firm has experience in similar type cases and has examples and results to show potential clients. It's really important to know that the firm has the financial resources as well, because they're going to need that to carry the case to a successful conclusion.
What is the cost for this type of representation?
Well, that's the good news here, Tony. There is absolutely no upfront cost. These cases are taken on a contingency basis with no cost to the client unless a settlement or verdict is actually reached.
Oh, that is good news for anyone suffering with Parkinson's disease after exposure to Paraquat, Dr. Walsh. Although no amount of compensation can make up for the illness that they've suffered, it has to be of some comfort that there is a system in place to address the impact this has had on their lives. So, Dr. Walsh, I want to thank you so much for being here today. The information you have provided will be helpful to any of our viewers who are suffering with Parkinson's disease after being exposed to Paraquat.
Thank you, Tony. It was a pleasure to be here. Have you or a loved one been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease? Your diagnosis may be due to exposure to Paraquat, a highly toxic herbicide, and you may be entitled to compensation. Lawsuits filed alleged exposure to Paraquat, a commercial herbicide widely used for weed control, has been linked to a substantial increase in risk of Parkinson's disease. The people at the highest risk include licensed applicators and farm and agriculture workers. Paraquat is used in over 100 different types of crops throughout the United States. Back in 2011, the National Institute of Health conducted a study based on claims that exposure to Paraquat could be linked to Parkinson's disease. Well, that study showed people were 2.5 times more likely to develop Parkinson's disease after exposure to Paraquat. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease after exposure to Paraquat, you may be entitled to compensation. Call for more information and a free case review today.